Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for coming to today's meeting for Health and Human Services. Let's proceed with the roll. Madam Secretary, please proceed.
Senator Lang, Senator Stone, Senator Taylor, Senator Titus, Chair Doñate.
And I'm here, and please mark Senator Ling present when she arrives. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. Today, we do have 3 bill hearings. We have Senate Bill 446, Senate Bill 497, and AB 551. 446. 466. Sorry, that was a typo. Given the interest of time, testimony is going to be capped to 10 minutes for opposition and neutral for each bill. We're going to try our best to move through these because some of these are budget implementation bills. And so let's go ahead and start first with, just really quickly, for folks that are here today, a few housekeeping items. If you can go ahead and sign it by the front, we would greatly appreciate it. And please remember to keep your electronic devices off. With that being said, let's start with Assembly Bill 551. This bill revises provisions requiring a background investigation of employees, prospective employees, contractors, and prospective contractors of the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. And so I'll go ahead and invite the Deputy Administrator to begin when she's ready. Please begin.
Right. Good afternoon, Chair and member of the committee. My name is Marnie Whalen. I'm with the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. I'm here today to present Assembly Bill 551. This bill will require background investigations that include FBI fingerprint-based background checks, local law enforcement checks, and proof of eligibility to legally work in the United States for employees, prospective and contractors of the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services at initial appointment and reinvestigation every 5 years to ensure compliance with federal regulations. The division administers several income-based public assistance programs, and in order to determine eligibility for these programs, we must verify applicants' income and financial circumstances. One verification source used is federal tax information. And because federal tax information is highly sensitive, any agency or employee who receives or handles this is required by federal law, specifically the IRS Section 6103, to adhere to strict security and confidentiality standards. Those standards are outlined in IRS Publication 1075. That publication mandates a number of safeguards, including secure systems, controlled access, and robust employee vetting. So as a result, employees who have access to FTI must undergo FBI fingerprinting-based background checks and suitability screenings. The division currently runs our pre-employment fingerprint-based background checks through the Department of Public Safety under the authority of NRS 239B.010. That gives the division the authority to run the background investigation at initial appointment. However, we have been notified by the Department of Public Safety that NRS does not provide the authority to reinvestigate as required by the Internal Revenue Service. This bill will enable the division to comply with the federal requirements. So for reference, the Department of Taxation has previously updated their language in their NRS, and this bill mirrors that language. I'm available. Have any questions? Let me know.
Thank you so much. Committee members, do we have any questions? Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for being here. I was trying to follow you and take notes. In a nutshell, what is this bill saying that the division has to do?
So currently, we do background investigations when we hire people. Mm-hmm. This bill will change that and give us the authority to do them every 5 years as required by the Internal Revenue Service.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So can you not do that just in your own regulations? It requires an NRS for you to repeat a background check after 5 years?
That's correct. We were told by the Department of Public Safety during a recent audit that we are required to update our language to that the authority that we're using to run our current background investigations does not give us the authority to do them again. So
it seems like any employer could say, I want a background check on you and I want you to repeat it in 5 years. But that's fine. It just seems like I think we have too many laws, and to have to write a law to do what you should be able to do by regulation just makes me crazy.
Any other questions? I had just a specific question on Section 1, Subsection 2A, regarding being a citizen of the United States or lawfully entitled to remain and work in the United States. I would assume a DACA recipient, if permissive of federal law and, of course, of the lawsuits that are happening nationally, they would qualify for being an employee under this provision.
The specific requirements are what we normally do for our I-9 requirements. So if they're eligible for employment under those guidelines, then they would be eligible under this.
Great, thank you. Just wanted to clarify that. I don't think there's any other questions, and so we'll go ahead and open it up to testimony and support. So if you want to take a step back, if you would like to provide testimony in support of this bill, you can go ahead and come forward. I don't see anyone here. And let's go to opposition. Is there any in opposition? Anyone? I don't see anyone here. Anyone in neutral? We don't have anyone in neutral. I will go ahead and, if it's okay, close the bill hearing for this bill, and we will move on to our next one. Trying to see if our bill sponsor is coming. Let's move on to Senate Bill 466, since we're waiting. I'm going to go ahead and open up this bill hearing, which this bill revises provisions governing the authority of the State Department of Agriculture relating to food and water. And we have our Director, Goikachi, here, so please begin when you're ready, sir.
Thank you and good afternoon, Chair Donate and members of the committee. Director Goikachi, Goicoechea, common spelling. Director of Agriculture. So I'm going to step through this fairly quickly, Mr. Chair, if that is all right with you. We do have proposed amendments. I believe the committee has those. We also have copies over here on the side. So what this bill does, in a nutshell, is gives the Department of Agriculture the authority that currently rests with the Department of Health and Human Services in regards to food establishments, farm-to-fork events, cottage food industries, etc. And the budget portions of this move have already been approved, so this is, in fact, the enabling that will allow us to do that work moving forward. The first several sections are strictly definitions on what everything is. I would like to draw our attention to Section 15, and I do want to note that there was some proposed language submitted to us to consider here. After reading this and the bill in its entirety and visiting with staff at HHS, we did not accept NACO's amendment on this. What they were concerned of is where it says, for the cost of services provided in that county by the department pursuant to this chapter and any regulations adopted pursuant thereto. They wanted to be clear that if they were in a health district and the health district was doing those inspections, that we would not charge that assessment. Well, we wouldn't. And it's very clear that if we did not provide the services, we would not charge an assessment. However, there are counties and health districts where the Department of Health and Human Services currently, and I do have a phone a friend back here who could back me up on this, they do provide some services outside the scope of that. So we did not want to eliminate our ability to charge an assessment if it was for shellfish, manufactured food, something along those lines that we do in some rural counties. Moving right along, we have our health warning that we must put in place on page 6. On page 7, there is an amendment in section 18. 18.2, as used in this section, approved hemp component means any component of hemp that the United States Food and Drug Administration has determined to be safe or generally recognized as safe for use as an ingredient of food intended for human consumption, and the final product produced has less than 0.3 total potential THC and contains no more than 5 milligrams of total potential THC per package. B, hemp has the meaning ascribed to it in NRS 557160 with the restriction that final products intended for human consumption shall not exceed 0.3% total potential THC and contain no more than 5 milligrams of total potential THC per package when tested as final products. Those are amendments in here, and we did run this by the Cannabis Compliance Board. They had a little more nuanced language we could have considered, but in the interest of time and in the late hour of this session, we would sure like to get this bill passed without a lot of changes to it, and I'm sure you would like to do the same. Moving forward to page 10, line 37, section 23. Except as otherwise provided in subsection 3, a farm is not a food establishment for purpose of holding a farm-to-fork event, provided that any poultry, meat from livestock, and meat from a rabbit that is served at the farm-to-fork event is raised and prepared on the farm and is butchered and processed on the farm pursuant to requirements Chapter 583 of NRS. And B, any poultry, meat, or livestock and meat from a rabbit that is served at the farm-to-fork event comes from an official establishment pursuant to 583 of NRS or from a facility under the federal inspection program. And then we just change B to C for that last paragraph. The reasons for this, as you know, we do now have an in-state meat and poultry inspection program. And when this language came over from LCB, it did not consider that. And we do not think it makes any sense that if we are going to stamp and label meat either in one of our state facilities under our own regulations or in a USDA inspected facility, that we could not use that meat to serve at an event, at a farm-to-fork event. Now we will move forward to section 34. And this is a very minor change here. It says the Division of Food and Nutrition of the department, and this program is actually going to reside in the Division of Animal Industry because that is where our dairy fund exists now, and that is where our health inspectors are going to reside at the agency, is in the animal industry, not food and nutrition. So with that, Mr. Chair, there may be several questions, and I'm happy to rest for questions.
Thank you. Can members have any questions? Can I ask more of a logistical question of like the mechanics of the bill? So I think there are different portions of this, right? There's the portion of moving parts of what's currently under DPBH to now the Department of Agriculture. And then there's also the consideration of farm-to-fork events and so forth. And so I guess, are there new provisions that are not currently in state law that you are enacting through this? I'm assuming it's the farm-to-fork items, or do they already exist in state statute?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. Director Goycochea, for the record. So they already exist in statute, but their authority on who enforces them reside in multiple places. What this bill is attempting to do is attempting to bring cottage food, for example, and farm to fork all beneath one entity, the Department of Agriculture. It's really confusing for a lot of our constituents. They'll come to us because we do have a component of 583 for the meat and poultry inspection. And then if they have to go to HHS, for example, to get a permit to do the farm to fork. Well, with that program coming to us, obviously that makes sense that we would be the one-stop shop now for that. In addition, if there are some health departments that may be approving permits for cottage industry, for example, those would come to us. There was a very similar bill in the Assembly that was up this morning that we did testify on there as well. And again, that is an attempt to bring everything under one set of rules and in one department so that the constituents know where to go, and it's one set of rules and they're not having to shop different answers.
Thank you so much, Director. Any questions? No? All right. Let's go ahead, and if you want to take a step back, we'll open it up to testimony. If there's anyone that would like to testify in support of this bill, please come forward. Got a few folks. If you could do 2-minute remarks, please begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Donate and members of the committee. For the record, Liz McMenamin, Retail Association of Nevada. We support SB 466. The retailers, particularly those operating food establishments, have long navigated a fragmented and sometimes inconsistent regulatory framework. SB 466 offers a smart, thoughtful consolidation of oversight by transferring key regulatory responsibilities from the Division of Public and Behavioral Health to the Department of Agriculture. For many of our members, this shift promises a more predictable and efficient regulatory process. Retailers stand to benefit from reduced compliance costs and streamlined inspections. We appreciate the bill's attention to hemp and hemp-derived products. Retailers in this space have faced uncertainty, and we believe SB 466 helps clarify the rules, allowing for cautious innovation and new product offerings. Lastly, aligning food establishment regulations more closely with the Department of Agriculture creates natural synergies that benefit producers, retailers, and consumers alike. This approach supports a more integrated and forward-thinking food system for our state. We thank the committee for considering this important measure, and we look forward and are willing to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, for the record, I'm Doug Busselman. I'm the Executive Vice President of Nevada Farm Bureau. We are in strong support for the transfer of the authority covered by SB 466 to the Nevada Department of Agriculture. Based on our working relationship with the Department of Agriculture, we are looking forward to the positive changes that we anticipate will benefit our members and other enterprises. We see this as part of a solid package that combines with budgets and AB 352 for cottage foods and enhancing programs for small food producers and consumers. Please give your support for SB 466.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Shane Piccinini, S-H-A-N-E, P-I-C-C-I-N-I-N-I. I represent the Food Bank of Northern Nevada. The Food Bank of Northern Nevada has long supported cottage food and small, food operations, and we believe that SB 466, did I get that right? Yeah, is definitely the direction we want to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to provide support testimony? Let's move on to opposition. Is there anyone in opposition to this bill? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in neutral on this bill? Seeing none. Any closing remarks? No closing remarks. I'll go ahead and close this bill hearing and move on to our last one, Senate Bill 497. This bill eliminates a requirement concerning the rates of reimbursement under Medicaid for applied behavioral analysis services. And I will go ahead and open this hearing and invite our bill presenter to present.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Health and Human Services Committee. My name is Rochelle Wynn, and I am proudly here to present Senate Bill 497, which is a Committee on Finance bill that we realized that we were in desperate need of when we were closing the subcommittee budgets and ultimately the full budgets for the Health and Human Services budgets. So I know that Senator Stone and Senator Titus will probably be more familiar with the need for this bill. What we have determined is in 2021, we passed some legislation. It actually passed unanimously, and it was to create the language that we are now looking to actually delete from this statute. And in this statute, what we did is we mandated that there be increases for these particular recipients that provide these services. This does not exist anywhere else in statute. There aren't mandatory increases, Medicaid reimbursement increases in any area of the NRS except for when it comes to this particular subset of providers. And obviously when we are making severe cuts or we are talking about increasing places where we need it increased, this is the only place where we aren't able to do that without this language being removed from statute. One of the other things that was particularly problematic is in addition to those mandatory enhancements or comparable rates, it was comparable rates of reimbursement paid by Medicaid programs in other states for services of these providers. There was no metric, there's nothing to gauge on what states we would choose. So easily these providers could choose states that have the highest rates and say this is a comparable state to our comparable providers. And so we are tied in with this language to give those the highest rates that there are in the state. But again, just for this particular thing. So what this bill hopes to do is to bring these providers in alignment with every other provider in the state, and gives this legislative body back that authority to make those determinations on an individual basis while we are creating the budget. And I am ready to answer any questions, and also Administrator Weeks is here to answer any questions that this committee might have regarding the need for this bill.
Thank you so much, Senator Wynn. Committee members, any questions? Senator Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not a question. Thank you, Senator. I agree. I definitely support this bill, and it was well-meaning, trying to improve access to behavioral health and trying to get more providers, but at the same time, not uncommon. These things happen where we pass laws with best intent, only to recognize that we need to fix them. So this is one of those fix-it bills.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, if you want to take a step back, we'll go ahead and open it up for testimony and support. If there's anyone that would like to testify in support, please come forward now. I don't see anyone. Anyone in opposition, please come forward. I don't have anyone in opposition. And last but not least, anyone in neutral on this bill. Please begin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Stephen Cohn, for the record, in the absence of regular time slot. We have folks at doctor's appointments and such, and would request a recess for testimony later, if possible. There are a lot of folks with better information than I have. Thank you. Yield for now.
Thank you. Anyone else in neutral? Given the interest of time, as always, this is the same recommendation that I make for everyone, is if there's anything, if folks were not able to participate, obviously we're having the network outages today, but you can always send in your testimony in writing to us, to the committee secretary. That's always available both throughout this process and as the bill moves throughout the process as well, not just in this committee, but that is offered to everyone. And so, seeing that there's no one else in neutral on this bill, I'll go ahead and close out this bill hearing. And give me 1 second. Let's go to a quick recess. All right, we're back from recess. So before we go to public comment, I just wanted to mention, so 2 of these bills I have questions on myself, and so I don't feel comfortable work sessioning them, at least until those questions are answered. They're more offline, more for implementation. However, for the bill that we just heard right now, that we just closed the hearing on, Senate Bill 497, I do believe that this one is ready to be work sessioned. Of course, as a caveat, as I mentioned, there is still a part of the process that folks can participate, right? This doesn't mean that the bill is going to be enacted tomorrow. And so for folks that are interested and so forth, you're always, as I mentioned, are welcome to send written testimony to the committee secretary and to your legislative elected official. With that being said, I would ask the committee to do pass this bill if I have a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion from our vice chair, our second from Senator Stone. Any discussion on this bill? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion's carried, and I will take that, or Senator Wynn will take that floor statement. We are good with the work sessions for today, which takes us to our last agenda item, which is public comment. Is there anyone that would like to provide public comment at this time? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment. That concludes the items for today's agenda, and the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.